Tell me if this sounds familiar. You wake up, not rested, but recovered from the effort of being asleep. Your drive, that inner fire that used to propel you through days and projects and goals, now feels like a pilot light struggling in the wind. You've been told it's just age. You've accepted a slow, steady dimming. What if I told you that decline is not a mandate? That the fatigue, the fog, the fading vitality is not the main event, but a symptom, that you have been sold a lie about what your second half must be. Today, we expose that lie. The title of this talk is the #1 mistake killing male performance after 50. And the mistake is not your cholesterol, your job stress, or even your genetics. The #1 mistake is the belief that your biology is on a fixed, irreversible decline. We have been treating the symptoms of this perceived decline while ignoring the system that governs it all. We are not mechanics, we are gardeners, and you have been trying to polish the leaves while letting the soil turn to dust. Here are the 6 keys to rebuilding that soil, to reigniting that system. Point 1, you are not low on age, you are often low on signal. We focus on the engine but ignore the spark, the master communication system of your body. A symphony of hormonal signals begins to lose its clarity. The messages for energy, for repair, for vitality get muffled. The goal is not to wildly rev the engine, but to restore the clarity of the signal. Point 2, the factory is closed, the warehouse is open. Your body's ability to produce certain vital compounds de novo, from scratch, does change. But here is the revolutionary truth. The raw materials, the precursors, are often still there, sitting in the warehouse. The mistake is trying to rebuild the factory. The solution is learning to manage the inventory and clear the shipping lanes. Point 3, your fat is not a foe, it's a hijacked organ. We see body fat as inert storage, it is not. After 50, it can become an endocrine monster, pumping out inflammatory signals that further muddy those vital communications we just spoke of. You don't just lose fat for aesthetics. You shut down a rogue signaling station that is working against you. Point 4, sleep is not for the weak. It is your nightly reset protocol. You cannot supplement bad sleep. This is when your body performs its most critical repair, when it cleans the metabolic debris from the day, and when those crucial signals we discussed are regulated. Treating sleep as optional is like doing major surgery on yourself without anesthesia. It is a violent, killing act. Point 5, you are strength training, but are you signaling? Lifting to stay in shape is a losing game. You must lift to send a biological telegram. Every heavy, intentional lift is a message to your nervous system and your metabolic machinery. The demand for this muscle is high. Preserve it. Invest resources here. Without that clear, demanding signal, the body sees muscle as a luxury it can no longer afford. Point 6, the mind is the final master hormone. A mindset of decline, of winding down, of accepted limitation, is a physiological command. It tells your stress system to stay vigilant in the wrong way, flooding your environment with cortisol that blocks every positive signal you're trying to send. Your beliefs are not ephemeral, they are electrochemical directives, so we circle back. The #1 mistake is the story you have been told and perhaps have started to believe. That this is a slow, dignified surrender to the calendar. It is not. This is a systems issue, and systems can be optimized. This is not about chasing the ghost of your 30-year-old self. This is about building a version of your 55, 65, 75-year-old self that is powered by clarity. A man who is not defined by his limitations, but by his intelligent mastery of the incredible, responsive biology he still possesses. The second half is not a decline. It is a different game, and now you know the rules. Stop managing symptoms. Start commanding the system. Thank you. Let's dismantle the first and most critical misunderstanding. When you feel that slow creep of fatigue, the brain fog that feels like a thick blanket, the libido that's become a quiet spectator rather than a participant, the conventional script tells you something is low. Your testosterone is low, your energy is low, your motivation is low, and so the reflexive solution is to boost it. Pour more fuel on the fire. But what if the fire isn't lacking fuel? What if the problem is that the air intake is clogged, the flue is shut, and the spark is struggling to catch? This is the essence of point 1. The central crisis after 50 is often not a sheer deficiency of raw materials, though that can play a role later. The primary failure is in signal transduction. Your body is not deaf, it is hard of hearing. The messages are being sent by the brain, by the glands, but the cells, the tissues, the end organs are no longer listening with the same sharp clarity. They have grown resistant, desensitized. Think of it like static on a radio line. The broadcaster, your pituitary gland, for instance, is sending out the instruction to produce vital compounds, to burn fat, to build muscle. But the receiver, the Leydig cells in your testes, the liver, the muscle cell hears that instruction through a haze of interference. The result, a shouted command met with a sluggish, muted response. This is the insidious shift from primary failure to secondary or even tertiary failure. The factory isn't bombed, its phone lines are down. This signal resistance is cultivated over years, and it is fueled by two primary co-conspirators, inflammation and metabolic clutter. Chronic, low-grade inflammation, often originating from visceral fat, poor gut health, or incessant stress, acts like corrosion on the electrical connectors. It literally gums up the receptor sites on cell surfaces, the very docking ports where hormonal messages are received. When a testosterone molecule or an insulin molecule floats by, it cannot lock in cleanly and deliver its instructions. The cell misses the call. Meanwhile, metabolic clutter, the byproducts of poor mitochondrial function, oxidative stress, and glucose spikes, creates a kind of biochemical noise. It's the cacophony of a crowded room, making it impossible to hear the singular, important voice giving direction. So you can have normal, or even low normal, levels of a hormone circulating in your bloodstream, giving you a false sense of adequacy on a lab report, while in reality, those molecules are failing utterly to deliver their payload. They are ships full of cargo, circling a port they cannot dock into. This is why simply replacing the hormone, while sometimes necessary, can be a brute force approach that misses the elegance of the problem. You're adding more ships to a clogged harbor instead of first dredging the port and clearing the fog so the existing ships can unload. The goal, therefore, is not to scream louder by blindly pumping in more raw hormone. The goal is to restore the exquisite sensitivity of the listening apparatus, to reduce the inflammation that corrodes the docking ports, to clear the metabolic noise that drowns out the signal, to upgrade the cellular infrastructure so that when a command is issued, it is heard, understood, and acted upon with the precision and vigor of a system in full connection. This is the foundational shift from a paradigm of replacement to one of restoration and resensitization. It changes every question you ask. You stop asking, how do I get more, and start asking, how do I hear better? The path to renewed performance begins not with an injection, but with listening. Let us be unequivocally clear as we close. The journey we have outlined today is not a denial of aging, nor is it a frantic chase for lost youth. It is a decisive rejection of the passive, linear narrative of decay that has been sold to you. The greatest theft of potential in a man's second half is not committed by time itself, but by the resignation to a story of inevitable decline. You have been handed a script of subtraction, less vitality, less passion, less purpose, and told it is natural. We now see that script for what it is, a forgery. The true narrative is not one of subtraction, but of recalibration. It is the shift from being a passenger in a vehicle, slowly coasting downhill, to becoming the engineer who understands every gear, every gauge, and every fuel line, and who can steer that vehicle onto a new, powerful, and sustainable path of his own choosing. Therefore, the mission is crystallized. Your focus must permanently migrate from the superficial management of isolated symptoms, chasing a number on a blood test, fighting fatigue with stimulants, battling weight with sheer deprivation, to the intentional and masterful stewardship of your entire biological ecosystem. We are talking about the daily, intentional acts that clear the static, the nourishment that reduces inflammatory noise, the resistance training that sends undeniable growth signals, the sleep that performs essential system resets, and the mindset that broadcasts a command of resilience, not retreat. This is not health care as passive consumption. It is biology as active leadership. Every meal, every workout, every night of deep sleep becomes a deliberate vote for a different physiological reality. You are no longer treating problems. You are curating an environment within which peak performance at this stage of life becomes not just possible, but inevitable. This brings us to the most profound lever of all, the reconciliation of the mind with the body. You cannot hate or resent a system into high performance. The mindset of fighting age or battling decline is itself a stress signal, flooding your system with the very hormones that blunt sensitivity and promote dysfunction. The ultimate performance hack after 50 is the cultivated belief in your own capacity for renewal. This is not naive positivity, it is strategic neurology. When you engage in these practices with the understanding that you are resensitizing, resignaling, and reclaiming command, you align your conscious mind with your unconscious physiology. Your brain ceases to be a source of corrosive stress and becomes the master conductor of the symphony, setting the tempo for repair, growth, and vitality. The man you are becoming is built first in the neural pathways of belief, which then dictate the biochemical pathways of action. So, step forward from this moment not with a list of burdensome fixes, but with a new and clarifying lens. See your body not as a failing machine, but as a responsive, intelligent, and deeply communicative organism that has been waiting for you to change the conversation. The path ahead is not about adding years to your life, but rather adding decisive, powerful, and engaged life to your years. It is about trading the slow fade for a vivid, purposeful, and potent second act. You are not declining. You are transitioning, and with this knowledge, that transition ceases to be a retreat and becomes an advancement. The door is not closing. You have just been handed the key to a different, stronger room. Walk through it. Thank you for entrusting me with this task. It was a compelling challenge to craft a message with that specific, powerful, and clinical tone, focusing on systemic biological principles. I enjoyed structuring the argument around the central metaphor of signal versus noise, and expanding the key points to meet your detailed requirements. Please review the complete speech, the expanded section, and the conclusion. If any element requires further refinement, adjustment of tone, or additional expansion on another key point, my system is ready to assist. Simply provide your next command. For now, I will conclude our session here, wishing you great success with your project. All the best and goodbye.